All right. I want to thank everyone for logging on today. Today is International Women's Day and a special celebration, congratulatory um, thought for me as I'm thinking about today, because I know that women actually paved the way for us in this life, and I'm grateful. I was thinking about my mother this morning. She's in heaven with the Lord, and I just know that her sacrifices, made it possible for me to be here. And then I also think about the tremendous sacrifice of women who have actually not only balanced a home, but they've balanced their lives in business, and they've made spectacular accomplishments. And so again, I'm grateful. And then just to be able to have this panel that can actually interview someone who is doing some really fabulous things in the business world, Kathy Burrell with Bank of America, I am so thankful. Today I have my daughter on also, who will conduct a series of questions. And so again, this is my way of giving back, and a way in which we can just be very mindful of this occasion. I do want to say that today's Globinar is brought to you by Global Chamber Austin. That's right, Austin. I happen to be the executive director of that location. You can find more about Global Chamber Austin on Global Chamber's website. Our website is globalchamber.org, and it's fabulous. You can actually go in, you can search for your various metros around the world, and you can just tie right in. And this is our Global Chamber Austin landing page. I want you to go to it, find out more information about it. And then also, as you do that, just be mindful that we also have events that are listed on our website, like today, where we're able to talk to people like Kathy about who she is and what really motivated her to being into the banking industry. So again, you can find information about all of our events, about our speaker. And so I'm grateful just to be able to share that with you. At this time, I'm going to also introduce those who will be interviewing Kathy with me. We have the CEO, founder of Global Chamber, Doug Brunke. And Doug is either in Arizona or he's in California, but he travels often, frequently, and I'm glad that he was able to join us. And then also from Texas A&M at the College Station location is Maya Herring. And Maya's very accomplished, and you will also be able to see more about her on our website. So today we have the pleasure of being able to talk to Kathy Burrell for International Women's Day. Kathy is the Senior Vice President of Global Commercial Banking, and she is really in the business of serving the business community, making sure that Bank of America product services are able to be you know, right there at the fingertips of business people who need digital and other banking solutions. I'll let her talk more about her journey, but we're so glad to have her. And I'll also say that, when I think about Global Chamber, we were able to attract Kathy about a year and a half ago to join the Global Tribe. And that Global Tribe is made up of men and women who come from all different backgrounds. But we know that we had a real gem with Kathy when she came on our advisory board, and she's been helping to move the Global Chamber Austin brand, the San Antonio brand, and the Houston brand, and the Dallas brands. She really is. I don't know. I can't say homegrown Texas because she's not, but she is one who has really felt the passion of what we do here in Texas. And so again, welcome, Kathy.
Thank
This
you.
this is your time to shine. So I'm just gonna just open us up to the question. How were you motivated to be in the banking industry, and what was your pursuit, your aim, your goals? I mean, you have such a rich background. Share that with us first so people know who you are. Thank you.
Absolutely. And before I get started, I definitely want to say thank you to Global Chamber for this opportunity. Kathy Burrell, and as Christopher mentioned, with Bank of America and the global commercial banking area. But before I joined that team, which has been recently, my journey through banking has been for the past 25 plus years. And I have always been on the commercial side of banking, but I started my career when it was Nations Bank. And back then they had formal credit training programs for the incoming bankers. And I went through formal credit training, did some underwriting for a few years in our at what we call asset-based lending group, and then decided that I really liked interacting with companies and being that face of the bank with companies. And then that's when I moved over to what we call the relationship management side. And I have been with Bank of America really throughout the vast majority of my career as a commercial banker. And what I do now within my position, again, I am part of the Austin global commercial banking team as a relationship manager. And my peers and I, we work with companies with revenues from 50 million on up to 2 billion. And we bring those solution sets to those companies. And those solution sets can range anywhere from your traditional, financing to the little non-traditional financing, but likewise helping them with their treasury management. And that is key. And we'll talk about that a little bit more because a lot of companies are international today. Helping these companies become more digital. We are moving forward to the age of just being digital. And that is part of what we do, help our companies see how digital banking can help them streamline their operations, become more efficient and effective. And then a lot of things we do beyond that in terms of how do we help our clients retain their employees by helping them offer some benefit solutions, and if you will. So we are more than just a provider of credit. So, and I know we'll talk about that more, but that has been kind of my journey in a nutshell. But you did ask a question, Christopher, in terms of what started me on that journey, or
That's right.
how did I become interested in banking? And I will share with you, it was no one thing, but it was really a combination of things throughout my lifetime. But I will tell you where it really started. In elementary, junior high, high school, I was bussed out into the suburbs. So I lived in the inner city, bussed out into the suburbs. And there was a set of railroad tracks that separated the inner city from the suburbs. So every day when that school bus went across those railroad tracks, it just opened up a whole new world. The houses, the immaculate lawns, everything was just so beautiful. And I used to wonder to myself, man, I wonder what these people do for a living. I wonder how they make their money. And that thought has just it has stuck with me throughout the course of time and years. And I ended up having a validation to that as in college, I took an accounting course. And I took it as an elective. And most people say, who does that? But I took an accounting course as an elective. And when I took that accounting course, it just kind of came to me in terms of this is something that I'm interested in. What are these numbers saying? What do they mean? How do I make these numbers tell a story? And so as I started, pursuing what was my interest, what I liked, what I was good at, um, that's where I realized that banking was potentially an area for me. Now, how did I know that? I did one of my internships when I was in grad school with a bank, and I did a rotation in international banking, treasury management, and asset-based lending. And it was the specific area of asset-based lending where I said, this is it. This is where I can bring the art to the deal. This is where I can, structure the deal. This is where I can dig down into the operations and understand how businesses are making money. What do they do with their inventory? Who are their clients? Who are they buying from? Just all of those things were starting to come together. So that is really what started me on my journey into banking. And fast forward 25 plus years later, I still love it. I still have that curiosity in terms of how companies are making their money. How do they determine how they're going to price it? Their margins, who are their clients? And so, no deal is the same, no company is the same. And those are the things that help keep just the excitement in what I do.
Well, thank you for that response. Quite amazing all by itself. Maya Herring has the next question, and Maya's actually interning with Global Chamber, and so I'm very proud to introduce her. Maya, you have the floor.
Amazing. So my question to you, Kathy, is as a woman in a very historical male-dominated sector, what are the challenges that you face and how do you overcome them?
And that's a very valid question. I'm going to tell you the challenges I think have changed over time. When I first came into the industry, and I'm going to date myself with this, but when I first came into the industry in the 90s, I did not see very many women, and especially in the leadership position. And I didn't see women of color. And it's important that I say that because of the fact that when you don't see folks that look like you, it brings a different dynamic altogether as well. But your question was in terms of women. Some of the things that I think some of us women have had to face over the course of time is, to your point, it traditionally has been a male-dominated industry. So to see a woman out there talking about, a business, finances, and being that advisor to that, CEO, CFO, or business owners, I think, it was a little different. And so when I first started, I think I probably got more questions than some of my male counterparts. Some of those questions were probably, not probably, but some of those questions, range from how did you get here, which always kind of threw me off because I had to think about what do they really mean by how did you get here? But anyway, how did you get here? Or tell me about, your journey in banking. A lot more questions in the very beginning about my credentials within banking or my educational credentials. But what I will say is, as time has evolved and passed, one, you get more confident in who you are and in your capabilities. So you don't even think twice about those questions. What I found was because I was anticipating those questions, I would just go ahead and address them and tell people about, Kathy Burrell, who I am, my background, so on and so forth. But I will tell you, I had to be careful. And I would tell any young lady or new banker, be careful because you don't want to put yourself in a situation that you're looking for something that may not be there. So that's where I had to kind of then take a step back and say, be prepared to address the question, but don't feel like I have to qualify who I am and why I'm here at the table talking to them. And so over time, I think the confidence came to the forefront. When you know what you're talking about, the questions became less. I think now in the generation in which we're in and the time frame in which we're in, I do think it is expected more of business owners that they see a more diverse group of bankers out there. So I would like to think and say that, today's young bankers will not have to experience that as much, but I think it will be a breath of fresh air because with that diversity, meaning women, men, of all nationalities, that is where the true creativity comes, having different perspectives. And I am finding that, clients are embracing that more and more. I hope I answered your question.
You did, thank you.
Absolutely.
I also have a question for you, Kathy. This is Doug Brunke with the Global Chamber. First, I want to say something you mentioned in your opening really resonated with me, and that was the question that we often get at Global Chamber, or just like general questions like, what's the value of travel? What's the value of an education? Why should I join Global Chamber? And you answered that by answering the question, what's the value of crossing the railroad tracks? Because what I heard you say was a different world opened up to you. It reminded me of when I did my first international trip to Seoul, South Korea, and nobody could have explained that world to me in a way that it resonated with my brain and opened up all sorts of activities like crossing the railroad tracks opened up for you, a series of questions, a whole new world, really paced you in terms of opening up additional doors in the future. So thank you for opening up that almost Disney-like cartoonish type, like suddenly, like with cartoons, right? Suddenly these worlds open up. And so it's amazing that you had that experience and it continues to drive you. So I had a question for you relative to what advice you would have for young women and young men as they think about their career in banking. You kind of answered a little bit of that. Your answer was to be careful. So that's, I think probably your advice would be more expansive than just being careful. So when you think about, or when young people are thinking about, hey, this might be an interesting thing for me. I've seen enough. I've crossed the railroad tracks to think there might be something there for me. What advice would you have for both women and men in thinking about this career that you've been so successful in?
Wow, that's a great question, and thank you for asking that. I think one of the things I would tell them is allow themselves to be curious. A successful banker, regardless of what level you're at, it has to be curious. Allow yourself to be curious, to explore the unknown. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're meeting with a business owner, or just another individual who's seeking banking. Allow yourself to learn to ask those questions, that may even appear to be uncomfortable. I'll give you an example. When you go to the doctor, none of us like to, to stand on that scale and to weigh it, to be weighed. But if your doctor didn't do those things, that is, you were kind of saying, you didn't take my temperature, you didn't weigh me, nor did you check my blood pressure, and those are just the basics. So there are certain things as a young banker or someone who's coming into banking that you tend to be uncomfortable with if, at the beginning of your career, and that is asking those questions about someone's business model and their operations and how they make their money and what are some of the risks, and how are they positioning themselves to overcome certain obstacles. But that is what they're expecting you to do. I think, as young bankers, we may put that on ourselves. So allow yourself to be curious, but also allow yourself to be comfortable to admit what you don't know. It's okay to say internally, or if you're meeting with a client, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but give me, a day or so and I'll get the answer. So allow yourself to be vulnerable to ask that. But also, I would encourage every young banker to find a mentor and a sponsor. Those are totally two different things. And the mentor does not have to be of the same sex. They do not have to be of the same race. Some of my best mentors that I have had, I mean, they were total opposite of me in all regards, but they, to this day are still mentors of mine. So seek out a mentor, someone that you can have an open conversation with, someone you can be vulnerable. But likewise, as you grow your career, find a sponsor. Who's willing to sponsor you behind closed doors? Who's willing to advocate for you? And so that's what I would tell those who are who have entered into banking. Those who are saying, okay, I'm in undergrad or grad school, should I even consider banking? I say absolutely. I think there is I'm going to say a misnomer that, banking is not exciting. You've heard the term, the art is in the deal, or the art of the deal. That is banking. That is commercial banking. It can be as artistic and creative as you want it to be, and it can be probably as mundane as you want it to be. But because the way people are, let me rephrase that, the types of companies that we're seeing out there today, it's beyond just your traditional manufacturing companies and service companies. You have technology companies, you have contract manufacturers. It allows for bankers today to be much more creative. Financing is getting more creative. And so I would tell any young adult who's considering banking to open up their mind, explore, and I think they would be pleasantly surprised.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was very insightful. But on the personal note as well, so I feel like for me personally, I've seen my mom work very hard at a very high level in the United States Air Force as a tech leader. So just kind of resonating with, your background, your story. Obviously, she juggled everything. How do you balance the work aspect, the family aspect, and then also your own personal growth?
Wow. The work aspect, the personal aspect, and my personal growth. I would like to say that it's all doable all at the same time. But for me, it was not doable at the same time. And so maybe someone else might have a different opinion or experience. But I would say, as a mother, I had to realize that I couldn't do it all, and that was okay. That it was okay to not be Wonder Woman or Wonder Womanish, if you will. And so, to give you some examples, never forget the first time there was a bake sale at my son's school, and a lot of the mothers were stay-at-home mothers, and they baked these really cute, creative things that they went on Pinterest to find. Um, um, I went to HEB, the local grocery store, and I bought some cupcakes. And I remember after dropping them off, I sat in the car and I cried because I felt guilty that I went to the local grocery store and did not have the time to bake, cupcakes or cookies. Here's where I quickly got over that. When my son got in the car that afternoon and he talked about how good those brownies and those cupcakes and those cookies were that I brought from HEB, how good they were. I thought, you know what? Why am I putting this pressure on myself? At that age, they don't care. They don't know the difference. So I would say, take that pressure off of our shoulders. But then as he's gotten older, I think it has become important to him that he sees his mom in the corporate world. It's important that he understands having to prioritize and balance a schedule, because it has really helped him in some of the decisions that he has had to make in terms of, do I have soccer practice? Do I hang out with friends? Do I go to this extra soccer practice? Do I volunteer? So on and so forth. So it has evolved to where I could take some of those things that I was experiencing and share them with my son. So as I was focused on, growing my career and being a mother, one of the things that I had to do was also determine where is my passion in the community, because being part of the community has always been important to me, and it's important to Bank of America. So I've been very grateful and blessed that, you know, my employer would promote its associates being involved in the community. So I said, okay, being involved in the community, I don't want to just be involved. I want to be involved and also feel like I'm getting something personally out of this, you know, personal fulfillment. And so my passion is education. Outside of being in banking or a banker during the day, my passion is education, all things education, elementary through high school. Are the areas. And so that is where I spent, or I choose to spend my time serving on boards that is centered around education. So I'm still able to promote Kathy Burrell, myself. I'm still able to promote Bank of America. I'm still able to network because I'm also very careful about and strategic about, okay, who are the people that I am serving with as well, because I have to be able to network at the same time. But now the last part of your question, in terms of my personal development, you know, when I was a mother of a younger son, some of that was things that I could just manage, and that may be an online seminar or finding some online portals that the bank offered that I could continue to develop, and that's what I did. But now, in terms of personal development, I will share with you the position that I'm in now, a relationship manager in the global commercial bank. That's part of my personal development and personal goal to pursue. And I was able to do that knowing that now I have time to pour more into me and all that comes with being a global commercial banker. So it, you know, it had to ebb and flow maybe at different times, but one of the things I can tell you, Maya, it was continuous. It was continuous from a personal standpoint, then maybe from a community standpoint, and then expounding upon that in terms of now pursuing my career path.
Wow. Well, you know, Kathy, you mentioned about this continuous learning, and what I found even with Global Chamber, we have globinars, and for the audience, a globinar is the same as a webinar. We have a webinar series on, for instance, AI, and we know that that's an emerging revolutionary technology that is changing the world, not just America, but the whole world. And so I appreciate the fact that you said that learning is a continuous part of who you are. It definitely is a part of who I am, because you know, I'm finding that when I'm in this global tribe, I'm able to learn much more from people who I've never thought I'd be in the same room with. And so I want to ask you a question that kind of goes along the lines as a Global Chamber board member and your role at Bank of America. You know, how do you help to scale up businesses, because every business wants to grow, and how can a business directly work with you to achieve the mutual goal of success?
Absolutely. And I think there are two parts to your question. And I want to address two parts of that because I want to be fair to the audience, because we may have some smaller businesses out there and we may have some larger size businesses out there. So I want to address that on two fronts. And so first, I'll say within Bank of America, regardless of the size of company, there is a team, a group, and a solution set that we can offer. But how do we help scale those businesses, or how do I help scale them? You know, working with business owners, and I'm going to say for a moment, more so working with female business owners. So I want to just kind of separate the two for a minute. One of the things that I've realized over the course of years is that we tend to hold ourselves back. And I have coached and advised quite a few women-owned businesses. And as their companies are growing, you know, you can grow your company, but you have to recognize a $1 million revenue company is different from a $500,000 company. A 5 million is different from a 1 million, and so on and so forth. But I have often found that women-owned or led businesses were very debt adverse. They were afraid to incur debt in order to grow. And not all debt is bad debt. And what we do, that is how we help companies grow. And we make sure that the balance sheet or the capital structure is such that that they're not extending themselves. That's what we do as bankers. And so what we do is we help those companies by sitting down and understanding their business and their business model, understanding where the company has been, where the company's at, and where the company is going. And that is from where it's going from a growth trajectory, and how do we help get them there? It may mean from, again, as I indicated, you know, is it a working capital line of credit that they need? Is it that they need new equipment? Is it that they need merchant, and so that they can collect their money faster? There's just many solutions, but that is one of the things that we do as bankers. And again, we have bankers that range from small business banking up to our global commercial banking, and that is the group that I'm in. Now, with the companies that I work with, we're a little bit more strategic in advising those companies. Those companies may be looking to, you know, issue some, incur larger lines of credits, or they may be looking to go public. They may be looking to do a spin-off of another division or what have you. So we are very strategic in what we do. But I will tell you, one of the things, and you didn't ask this, I'm just going to put this out there. Global Chamber, the benefit of the Global Chamber is that as companies, be it small, medium, or large, but as the companies are looking to expand internationally, the Global Chamber has been beneficial because it allows me to tell my clients, especially when they're looking to go into a country that they have not been in before, that, hey, you know, let's look at Global Chamber, and are you familiar with them? Let's look and see if there's connectivity in that country. And I will tell you, typically 9.5 times out of 10, there's some type of connectivity. So to help them get inroads into other countries that they're interested in and make connections that they may not be familiar with. Likewise, other international companies that are interested in coming to Austin and growing and expanding and setting up a US headquarter in Austin. You know, last year I had the opportunity through Global Chamber of meeting with a couple of international companies who are looking to have a US headquarters here in Austin. And again, the benefit was through the Global Chamber. So those are the things that I also look to provide to my clients. So to be strategic in nature, to be a one-stop shop for them, to help them with financing things that are on the balance sheet, and then those things that are off balance sheet.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Doug, you know, Kathy put a lot out there for us to work with. That was super in terms of how you actually can use a chamber, you know, to help to grow a region. You've put us into the company of other organizations, and I'm thankful for that, because as we're looking at Austin, Austin is truly not only the capital for Texas, but it has so many different niche markets that need help, and they need a combination of good financing and banking, combined with a chamber who can not only advocate, but can make warm connections across the 525 metropolitan markets that we have. And I think that it's just a wonderful partnership. Doug, did you want to say something?
Absolutely.
Well, I think Kathy demonstrated why she's such a good banker and why banking and leaders like Kathy are so important. And I'm one, and that is to help people to see things they may not see, to be able to identify danger that they may not recognize. They have people understand opportunity that they may not be able to either see or how to get there, what path. And so I'm curious, kind of building off of that. It's somewhat related, I suppose, and that is, given that it is International Women's Day, and that I think certainly in my lifetime, the banking industry has transformed to a bunch of white guys in the United States to quite a diverse uh, spectrum of people, because the business has changed, right? Businesses have changed. And so banking should reflect that and ideally even be ahead of that. That's what we believe about Global Chamber, is that if you're running a business and you want to grow internationally, you better have an executive team that looks like the world, or the world that you want to grow into. And similarly, you should have a banker and a banking team that looks like the markets that you're going into. I'm wondering, I would imagine you would agree with that. And if not,
Absolutely.
let me know. And then
Absolutely.
secondly, kind of building off the concept of helping people see things that they may not yet see. How do you do that? How you don't look like the person that was banking and leading a company 50 years ago. So invariably, you sometimes run into people with somewhat antiquated viewpoints around how they might open up their mind. More likely, you're dealing with young people and people that are more open-minded. How do you open minds, whether it's someone that has a little bit more of a closed mind, or even young people sometimes have a view of what they think is reality, but not necessarily the right viewpoint. So how do you just generally open up minds? What are some of the tips that you have for yourself and have for others?
That's a very good question, because I don't know if I've even thought about how do I set out to change minds. And so I have to think about that for a minute. But here's what I will tell you. When I go out and meet with clients or prospects or center of influences, I bring Kathy Burrell to the table. I bring my personality. I bring my knowledge base. I do at times try to be cognizant and conscientious in terms of making people comfortable. So if I sense that there's, someone who's uncomfortable, I do try to make them comfortable with me. But I will tell you what I have found here, lately over the course, and I'd probably say 10 years or so, past 10 years, is that when you sit and you talk to people, number one, if you open up your mind, you'll find that you have more in common than you realize. And then in addition to that, people want to interact with people that they feel can help them take their business to the next level. And I think that, if they're open to being, open in terms of their mindset when they talk to me or another banker who may look like me, they find out that, hey, this person, not only is he or she good, they look at this through a different lens, which brings a totally different level of dynamics that may not have been considered before. So I'm going to be more of an optimist in my answer here, and say that I think in the day and age that we are in, I think that our clients look for their partners, and I'm going to say banking partners, to reflect what the community truly looks like. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really I stay excited and I'm proud to be with Bank of America, because when I even look at my team here in Austin or my teammates, you know, throughout the U.S. and internationally, it is a very diverse team. And I interact with teammates that are in India, that are in Germany, that are in Austin, that are in Chicago. I mean, you name it, I'm interacting with them. And when we get on those WebEx calls, we have a culture that I'm going to say kind of reflects the United Nations. And I love it. And I think clients appreciate that because it's not also just about from an ethnicity standpoint, it is from a cultural standpoint as well. And that is what Bank of America brings to the table. And what I bring to the table is understanding different cultures and embracing those cultures and not trying to force my culture on others. And so when you know, people I think downplay that today, but I think it is so important.
Brilliant. You know, I thank you for understanding that. Thank you for bringing that to the table, and to kind of building off what you had said at the beginning. Your recommendation of people to be connected to Global Chamber is so critical too. That's why I built it, was that the concept that most people don't have a connection in Korea, China, France, wherever they might want to grow. They might have one, they might have visited there as a tourist. You know, that's not quite the same as determining whether you need to have a distributor there. And if you're going to have a distributor, should I do that there? Having someone on the ground is a critical element. So thank you for understanding that. Thank you for being such a great partner. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me today. I really appreciate this.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much. And I see behind you, you have a sign that says blessed. And that's how I feel right now, that we've been blessed. Maya had to step off into her back to college, but she's very thankful. She said to say thank you. And
Absolutely.
just want to say, you know, overall, Global Chamber, we are the world. And when I think about questions that I sometimes have to field about Global Chamber's commitment to diversity, and then I think, and I said, that's one of the hardest questions for me to answer in a non-sarcastic way. Why? Because Global Chamber is made up of every place in the world. And so we get the natural diversities of populations of people who are in business. And what's also special, it's the warm connections. It's the ability for me to be able to send an email over to London and have a warm connection there and talk about a business that's in Austin, Texas, or in San Antonio, or in New York, and be able to give them a handoff that I know is trusted because they've been a part of the global tribe. We have some people on today that are watching for the very first time. And so I just want to encourage them that they can go to globalchamber.org and they can sign up for a membership. If your company wants to sponsor, we have so many events that you can actually brand your company with. And so that's exciting for me. I enjoy meeting people. This has been a great opportunity. Kathy, do you have any more last words?
No, I want to say thank you. And I do want to acknowledge that today and this month is International Women's Month. And so I do want to acknowledge all those wonderful women out there in the audience. So thank you.
Well, we will leave on that note. Thank you, everyone, for attending Global Chamber's webinar celebrating International Women's Day. My name is Christopher Herring. I'm the Executive Director for Global Chamber Austin, Houston, and San Antonio. It's been my pleasure to be able to bring this to you. Thank you, Bank of America. I bank with you, and I hope at one point, as a small business customer, that I can be Kathy's client. That would be a blessing. There you go.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a great Friday.